Bonjour tout le monde.
Bonjour. Hello. We will start in a few minutes. So hello everyone. This eMag will be translated live, French or English. You can click on the globe at the bottom of the screen and choose the language that you want. Please click on the globe icon on the bottom of your screen and select your language.
On va bientôt commencer.
We will start. I will share my screen.
On voit bien. Okay.
So welcome everyone for this eMag on adaptation and water, which is the same name as Water, Adaptation and Water, one of our African coalitions. After a time of introduction, we will have someone from Sarah from the Comité 21 talking about the stakes of the water. Tania will also present. She is in charge of the Observatory at climate change. She will talk about a case study of Cape Town on the Cape Town water strategy. This will be Tania. Then together we will watch a presentation by Philippe Guettier, former General Secretary, now partner at the French Partnership for Water. He will talk about this issue that will be presented in Dakar next week. Then Benjamin will be talking about the initiative Dakar 2022, SEN'EAU. And then there will be a time of question and answers, a Q&A. You can also post your Q&A, your questions rather, or your comments on the chat. Before we get started, we will talk about the Climate Change Summit Europe 2022 that was held in Nantes on March 7th and 8th. And this was the first time we had an opportunity to meet in person in partnership with the French European presidency at the European, and there were 20 different countries, mainly from Europe, and we were able to have discussions and debates around the Green Deal and also our support to Ukraine. Of course, the event was reorganized because of the latest events and news. The purpose was to come out with some priorities and common directions of local actors to enhance and strengthen the Green Deal. Several proposals stood out. They were communicated and will be displayed in the next report. During the summit, there was a workshop for proposals with the French Water Partnership, which is our topic for today. And people were able to come up with some recommendations in order to improve the knowledge, to improve water quality, to adapt societies and territories, to also limit the impact of climate change on environments and societies and promote resilience, and also to take into account the southern countries, even though it was mainly a European summit. Following this European summit, we will meet again for the Climate Change Summit Africa 22 that will be held in October in Dakar, in Senegal, and the eMag will also be integrated into the messages that will be carried by climate change in Dakar. So we wish you a good and happy viewing, and I will now give the floor to Sarah for the IPCC report. Hello, everyone. I will now share my screen and my presentation. Just give me a few seconds to fix my screen. Can you all see my screen? Okay. So hello, everyone. Glad to be here with you in this day. Just to give you a few words regarding the water adaptation issues and challenges, especially what has been said in the last IPCC report. I'm talking on behalf of the Comité 21, which is an organization, multi-stakeholders on the French territory with companies, local authorities and universities in order to deal with the various issues such as sustainability, development, and mainly adaptation. For start, I would like to remind you of what it is that we mean when we talk about water and climatic pressures on water. This could be grouped in three main categories. The various hazards of extreme weather like heavy rainstorms and floods, climate change, of course, increases these climate hazards, also impacts on the water cycle and also on the water networks. Quickly, water cycle, what we mean by that could be on the dynamic of the water and the change in the speed of the evaporation or other issues of water sanitation or drought, etc. And now regarding the water networks, when there are some floodings, there will be some overflowing and a risk of contamination, and droughts may push the concentration of certain elements like carbon and so on. So there are a number of impacts. And when we talk about adaptation, what we can do in terms of adaptation in order to meet these challenges could be also grouped around three main categories. So what we can actually do to guarantee a supply and the availability in terms of both quantity and quality for human beings, but also for biodiversity and ecosystem. We also talk about water management and managing the conflicts of use of water. Now, regarding the IPCC report, impacts, adaptation, and vulnerability, just to remind you a few points here, and what are the new points, the new things that stand out of this report, mainly in view of or in regards to water. This report, for the first time, says in a very strong way, and the word that is used in many cases, in many pages, is that the issues connected to climate change can only be taken on board if we talk about transforming our societies. It's the word transformation that stands out the most. We're talking about a transformational adaptation. We're not talking about adaptation on the margin, but through a real transformation. We talk also about social justice. This adaptation cannot work and function if we do not include such things like justice and equity. In order to have the best adaptation system possible, we need to decompartmentalize the various disciplines and responses to have more systemic approach for adaptation, talking about various experts for water and urban planning so that we can find systemic solutions, taking on board all the various aspects to avoid ill adaptation, bad adaptation. We want to look for long-term adaptation measures and not short terms. A last point in the report of the IPCC, there's also a willingness to specific what will be the impact, what will be the measure of the vulnerable points in time, in short term, and we can see that it's getting closer. Also regarding the various degrees of global warming, it's important that each degree 10th degree of global warming will have an impact. Few figures, and I will speed up now to focus on what this report teaches regarding water issues. Several conclusions, findings, and we are able to say that between 3.3 and 3.6 billion people who live in highly vulnerable contexts. Regarding floodings, the human mortality from floods has increased a lot in the year between 2010 and 2020, especially in the most vulnerable regions. And other IPCC findings on water, a lot of loss on the ecosystem. For example, 6 times more water in the soft water. We have 38% of world population which is considered as a hydric stress with water scarcity, and this figure has increased greatly. So these are the kinds of points that the report is communicating about. Now, regarding the other key findings, I have just a few slides to show you the various categories regarding societal challenges and others due to water loss and water scarcity as being very important. That would have a high impact. Now, regarding food and fishery, because of water, lack of water, there's also an impact on agriculture and the capacity to supply food for a number of people in some regions. Also, the report talks about fishing, especially in rivers, and the change in the rainfalls would have an impact, negative impact on the food supply. And this would lead to some points of vulnerability, especially in Asia and in Africa. We know also that in a scenario of 2.5 degrees, some species of fish would go down by 50 to 68% in Africa. Another challenge, we talked about floodings and water rising levels, sea levels. So these, of course, are risks which will increase in global warming, and there is a risk of flooding and an intensity and a frequency of these weather hazards, extreme weather. So the African continent, of course, is also at risk and very much concerned by this. This could also lead to population displacement. In a scenario of 1.5 degrees, we would have a human displacement by 200%. And for a scenario of 1.6 degrees, we would go to 600%. So these are huge numbers of people. And there are millions of people who are exposed to this rising of the sea levels. That's the last point here on this slide. The number of people exposed is increasing terribly with the rising of the sea levels. Another point, and that's all the issues around water quality. Less water means more concentrations and more issues regarding the quality of water. At 2.1 degrees, there will be thousands to tens of thousands of additional cases of diseases in Central and Eastern Africa mainly. And there would be other stakes and in other places due to malnutrition and indirect consequence of a water scarcity. This IPCC report draws some conclusions which are very alarming, but also highlights a few possible solutions. Of course, that is not the primary role of the IPCC to bring solutions, mainly to draw attention to the problems, but a large category of actions are still possible, mainly improving natural water retention and flow reduction, and everything that could have an effect on the water and the flow, on the water flow. The second point, of course, is the conservation, protection, and the restoration of fresh water. So these are the main findings and main key points found in the IPCC report. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. I did not see any question in the chat for the moment. So if we don't have any questions, we can move on now to the interview. Sorry. Before, we will have Tania. Tania will do a presentation on behalf of climate change. She will give us a practical case study in Cape Town, and she will tell us a bit more about the report of the observatory. Thank you, Chloe. I will switch to English so you can, and I will present the report that has just been published, and then we will look at the case study for Cape Town. So I hope you can see my screen.
So yeah, I'll switch to English now. I'm going to present a case study on Cape Town, which is based on our local action report, which we published last week along in tune with our Climate Change Summit Europe. So this global synthesis report, like all of our reports, if you're familiar with them, has the following characteristics. This is what we try to do with the report. We try to follow the progress made in terms of climate action in the last 1 year by looking at the story behind the figures. So we look at the quantitative section, we look at a few numbers in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and the evolution over the last 1 year, but then we try to look qualitatively at what has been the what have been the levers that have been used by local and regional governments to reach this particular situation. So the idea is to analyze the actions that have already been carried out concretely by local and regional governments and the networks of these governments, and to also have case studies like the one I'm going to present today that showcase best practices from various cities and regions around the world and can also thus be inspiring for, and can be replicated. So the report, which you can find on our website already in English and will soon be published in French, is divided into 4 main parts. The first one is more on emissions, the results, the different methodologies, and reporting practices that are used by local governments. And the second and third parts focus more on networks and initiatives of local and regional governments, of how these actors all work together internationally through these various networks and initiatives. And the third part is based on contributions that we received from all of these networks themselves, about their latest activities, about themselves, about how their membership has evolved, and also a case study from one of their members. And then part 4 was more focused on this year's theme for the summit, and it spoke about regional governments and their strategies for low carbon growth and a just transition. So here we have the case study of Cape Town, which was in fact written in collaboration with CDP as part of their contribution to the report. And unfortunately, our colleagues from CDP couldn't make it to today's session, so I'll be presenting how Cape Town has gone from having the worst drought recorded in its history in 2018 to, in 2021, being awarded by the International Water Association for being resilient, for being a water-saving city. So to begin with, the situation in 2015 to 2018 was extremely dire. It's when the city was facing the worst drought on record and could not ensure water supply to its citizens. It reached such a point that the reservoirs for the city were down to 1/5 of their usual capacity. And so coming out of this, the city decided to work on its resilience to reduce its water stress, which is intricately linked with the social and economic characteristic of the city, because we often see that it's the economically and socially marginalized communities within the city that are often worse hit by such crises. So how did the city overcome this challenge? It's through the water strategy, the city's water strategy, which uses 5 main axes, which I've listed out here on the screen. The first one being safe access to water and sanitation. And this ties in more with the socioeconomic goal of ensuring that everyone has access, not only to safe, potable, clean drinking water, but also sanitation. And they've been doing this by ensuring that there are also public toilets that are available to people, that are strategically placed throughout the city that everyone can use. And then the second axis of action has been the wise use of water. And this is more in terms of residents' behavior and reducing the demand for water. It relooks at the city's relationship with water. And so how this has been enacted is through bylaws and planning ahead the water requirement for the city. And through the different strategies that have been used, they've been able to reduce the per person water use per day from 250 liters in 2004 to 140 liters in 2021. So that has been another key pillar. And then the third one is ensuring that there is sufficient and reliable water supply from diverse sources. And this includes widening the sources from which the city gets its water, including groundwater abstraction. They've been working on reusing water, so the treatment of used water, and also desalination. South Africa being on the coast. And the aim is to have an additional 300 million liters of water per day in the next 10 years, and to also have the infrastructure that goes hand in hand with this being developed. Then the fourth pillar that we have is ensuring that there are shared benefits from regional water resources. And so this involves working with stakeholders and having a collaborative process in the larger region that the city finds itself in. And the fifth point is making the city water sensitive. And this has to do with how the city is planned, how the city operates at the most basic scale. And it means ensuring the optimum use of water, of stormwater drains, of urban waterways within the city, and also ensuring that these ecosystems within the city are maintained at the perfect balance. And this is how Cape Town has been able to overcome this period of drought and build its resilience in terms of its water strategy. Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat, or write to us at Climate Chance, and we'll get back to you, of course. And we invite you once again to discover the report on our website. Thank you.
Merci, Tania. Donc,
Thank you, Tania. Yes, do not hesitate. You can also contact us by email if you have any other questions. And if not, we will move on now to the interview, who's a former General Director of the French Water Partnership. We'll be talking about the Water Forum that will be organized for the first time in Sub-Saharan Africa. This will be in Senegal next week. The climate change delegation will be there on March 23rd. And Eva now will show us video. Hello, Philippe. Thank you for being here with us for this eMag on the World Forum and Water and Adaptation, which is one of the coalitions, African coalitions of climate change. I have a few questions which I'm going to ask you. As you know, the first question is regarding, could you tell us in a few words for our public today, what is the World Water Forum? Maybe we could start with that. Yes, hello, Eva. Hello, everyone. The World Water Forum is the largest event at the world scale between all the water stakeholders, whether public or private actors from various continents. It's an event that is organized every 3 years by the World Water Council, based in France, in Marseille, and a country and a city is hosting the forum. This is our 9th edition, and the one in Dakar next week will be the 9th edition from March 21st to March 25th. And there will be many of us in Dakar. These forums gather usually several thousand people. This one was postponed by 1 year because of the COVID situation. And we will follow our usual pattern. Thank you very much. We have a number of non-state actors from Africa who has been following us for some time now, since the last Climate Change Africa Summit. Could you tell us a little bit more about the mobilization of non-state actors as part of this event, and what is their role in this forum? One important point, maybe, the forum is an informal event and not a conference of the UN, nor an official event, if you like. This is organized by water professionals who want to help all the various world water stakeholders in order to coordinate their work, to share recommendations to the official bodies. And this Dakar Forum, in March of 2023, next year, there will be an international conference in New York organized by the UN regarding water. So this forum is one step toward this World Conference of March of next year. So the civil society will be able to express itself much more in these kinds of forums rather than at the UN, which are reserved for states actors or states. Okay, that's really interesting. And I think it's good to see that there are several ways for actors to actually mobilize themselves as part of the forum and to be able to access these kinds of international events. We also heard, of course, of the Dakar 22 initiative for certified projects. Today, we should have with us someone who does have a labelized or valid or certified project as part of the forum. Could you tell us a little bit more about this labeling? This is the first time we're doing this as part of the World Forum, Water Forums. The idea was to label projects. What we mean by that, the projects that are undergoing, that are either already implemented or are on their way to being implemented. So we did have an international jury, and the jury had 9 criteria for assessing all these projects. One important one is that the project needs to aim the SDGs, to aim the SDGs. And I'm here to represent the French Water Partnership. This is something, an app which we have developed, Water for All SDGs. And in a very reasoned way, it helps to assess and look at the positive and negative aspects of a project, something which did not exist before. Therefore, this app, of course, was very useful to help us label all these projects, and it will be promoted during the forum and will be able to be used for free. It will be made available online, so all the users will be able to use it online to validate the project. The red line really of this forum was to make sure that strategies, projects, political people would all go in the same direction as the SDGs. That's a real red line for us. So everything that has been done as part of this forum, especially the labeling, has been done in the same way. So that's what we were saying earlier on regarding the coming conference at the UN in 2023. This forum is one step towards that conference. Of course, the forum has to come up with some recommendations and come up with some projects that have been certified. We want to make sure that these recommendations and these projects will contribute as best as possible to the SDGs. That's really our thread, if you like, and very much focused on climate and water and adaptation. I know that the climate change summit in Nantes that took place recently was very much focused on the SDGs for your members, but also for members of civil society and the states. So this would be a highlight in Dakar to work towards the SDGs. That's really our leitmotiv for this forum. Thank you very much. Do we have an idea of the number of projects? Yes, we have 126 projects that have been labeled around the 3 main categories or topics of the forum, without any priority order here: water safety and sanitation. And in this, we have biodiversity, climate issues. Second topic is water and rural development. It's a very important topic, of course, in view of the exodus toward the large cities. Third category or third topic is cooperation. Cooperation in regions, territories, basins within the same country, but also cooperation between countries when they are sharing the water resources. The fourth one is tools and means and resources, governance, partnerships, finance, etc., innovation, in order to go towards reaching our SDGs. And lastly, one last point. Could you maybe tell us a bit more about your role at the World French Water Partnership and what you have been doing as part of the preparation of the forum? French Water Partnership was created in 2007. It is 15 years old, and we created this French Water Partnership in order to help develop the Water Forum, to make sure that we would have a strong visibility. This has been the case for all the previous forums. Now the French Water Partnership and its members are active in a lot more instances and bodies, especially at the UN. I talked earlier on about the World Water Conference, and there are also the COP meetings, conferences, and other meetings on biodiversity and other topics. So our French Water Partnership is a key player in this. Our role is to facilitate all the French networks. We have over 200 members, both from the public and private sector. That's the added value. We have various companies, NGOs, like Climate Change, and local authorities, members of parliaments, experts, etc. We are a multi-actors platform, and our role is to prepare an advocacy representing all these various bodies to make sure that water would be at the very top of the agenda, which is not the case yet, far from it, and to make sure that this would be our common thread, that water would be as much as possible a mean to reach our SDGs. The Dakar Forum, the FWP will be very much present, and all of its members in all of the discussions, in all of the project labeling for 2022, and the FWP will also be facilitating the French space, which is a space for all the French actors. There will be some events with, of course, their foreign partners. We will not be just staying within a Franco-French space. We want to be international, but on this French space, there will be moments to meet with foreign and international partners. This is a place for discussion between all the various actors to prepare all the sessions of the forum and to prepare the coming conference at the UN next year. Thank you very much. Just coming back to this French space, there will be also events going on within that space, like workshops, roundtables. Yes, there will be multiple events on the France space. Mainly, there will be between 7 to 8 events every day. It will be a non-stop ongoing program. And we can have maybe up to 60 people in that space. And we will be able to have some interesting discussions. There will be other events on smaller scales in another part of this France space to have pitch corners and pitches on various projects, such as special projects or project owners who wanted to address a smaller panel, international panel. So within this France space, there will be French people and their partners who will be discussing through an international panel. That's what we wanted. And that's how we've developed the various and conceived the various events that will take place during that week. Thank you for this overview of all your activities and all the activities of the FWP as part of the forum, and for giving us an insight to this forum and what it means for our African stakeholders. We wish you all the best and a great success for this event. It's good to, I imagine it would be nice to go back to a in-person meeting, something which we experienced last week with our summit in Nantes, and we will invite everyone to take part in this forum and to visit the France space and even to pitch some of the projects as part of the pitch corner. It is still possible, indeed. There is still a little bit of space left for the pitch. So if you have any requests, you can let us know quickly. One last thing, very interesting to be working in partnership with the FWP and Climate Change. Of course, for all the events organized by Climate Change, in particular regarding water, and same goes for you. You are all welcome to this forum and even beyond. And we want to make sure, and we want to see our partnership continue in time. Of course, global warming is a major challenge in relation to water. Yes, we are all on the same page. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you to Eva and Philippe for this very interesting interview. Very interesting to see that the SDGs are very much present, such as it is at the Committee 21. There are a few hands raised. We will give the floor to our last speaker first, and then we will come back to your questions. You can also write your questions in the chat box, so we can come back to you with some answers for the moment. And in order to conclude with our last speaker, I will give the floor now to Benjamin Masmondet for the SEN'EAU project. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We have about 100 or so projects that have been labeled. I will present to you now the reason why this is. I'm Benjamin Masmondet. I'm the expertise director as part of SEN'EAU, which is a Senegalese company which started its activity on January 1st, 2020. We have 900,000 customers, about roughly a population of 7 million people that we serve with clean water. Our job is to distribute and give clean water. We started with this company. We wanted to be a company of excellence for Senegal and a reference for Africa. This was our starting point. We have 6 main axes. Within those 6 axes, we want to make sure that everyone has access to water, which is the basis of our business. Another axis is to guarantee an excellence of service. As far as I know, there is no sustainable water service without a good customer service management. We need to have a good service to our customers to make sure that everything goes smoothly, and then we can manage both and finance both the water distribution. That's the whole purpose of this project called SEN'EAU, which means in Wolof, protect my water, or protecting my water. Now I will share my screen. I think you can see it. Now, the basis of this project, SEN'EAU, was to have the digital at the heart of our service, to serve our customers. Digital, as we've seen in the last 2 years, has enabled us to connect to one another, to continue our activity despite pandemics, world pandemics, and to bring together and closer customers to water access. We organized this project around 5 axes: the digitalization of water meter reading. Second axis is that we have conceived a new clearer and more educational invoice. We also have an online agency. Our customers can have, therefore, access to a lot more information. We also have developed instant digital payments. And lastly, we have a service of informing customers by text message, which is the most efficient way to reach our populations and our Senegalese customers. As we digitalize our water meter reading, we were able to equip our technicians and our readers with smartphones with 4G connection for real-time reading. Then we receive the information, we take it into account, and we edit the invoice within 24 hours. At the same time, we are able to geolocalize all the water meters, which means that our customer has a much more reliable invoice. Before, we were doing everything through paperwork. Now we have more fluidity in our system, and it's much more secure as well. Therefore, our customer can be informed or if there's any issues such as a leak or a overconsumption, we're able to better manage the information, and then the customers can receive their invoice much more quickly to better manage their budget, especially in case of an issue such as a leak. It's important for our customers to be informed quickly enough so they can fix the problem to avoid an important invoice. So for us, this is something that has helped us reduce the number of kilometers made by our agents, and our interventions are much faster than before. Through geolocalization in Senegal, you don't have street address or street names as you have in Europe. So in order to find a customer quickly and intervene at their place, we need to use the geolocalization of our water meters. Second axis, or second steps, if you like, is a new invoice. Understanding what your invoice says is also knowing how to manage your own water consumption and therefore preserving resources. You cannot manage or preserve a resource if you do not understand how it works, if you do not manage your own consumption. That's the purpose of this new invoice, which is sent out every 2 months. Our customers are invoiced every 2 months in Senegal, every month for larger consumers and for industrials. As you can see, the invoice has been revamped in order to have a graphic that shows very clearly what has been the context and the history of the customer's consumption, with a number of messages to better visualize what needs to be known by them. This invoice is sent in paper format to our customers, but one new development is that now we also have an online agency. The address is SEN'EAU.SN, which is a 24/7 online customer agency, and our customers can use this site for several things, like downloading the invoice without having the paper format. So the customer can actually, as is done mainly in Europe nowadays, the customer can let us know that they can receive the invoice by email and we don't have to use paper anymore. This online agency is also here to give our customers the handover and to help them manage their consumption and to send to us the meters index. The purpose here is to manage both one's budget and one's consumptions. Our 4 axes: digital payments that have become instant. Many operators, initially for bank or for telephone, who started in Senegal and other parts of Africa, new tools, which we don't have so much in Europe, which allow people to change money, but also to pay invoices through that mean. So the various operators for water, for telephone, for electricity, and so on, use these tools. We've made this instant through various IT systems. And therefore, we made the use of this tool much easier for customers to pay their water invoices. So our customers don't have to go to the office, to the agency anymore. They can do it whenever they want, wherever they want, and manage their own invoices. They actually save money because they don't have to pay for stamps. If you pay by cash, you have to pay also stamps. Last point, which is another module that will be activated this year. Our customers will be informed by text messages or by email of some events, for example, on their account, when the invoice is ready, when the invoice has been released and is ready to be sent, or if there is an answer to a question that was asked, or other things. This is a way for us to help our customers to better know how our services work. And this is a very efficient way to do it. All Senegalese people have a mobile phone, a smartphone, and the text, or a telephone at least, and WhatsApp or text messages are the main efficient ways of contacting people. So that's, in a nutshell, this project, which took 2 years for us to work on and to roll out this project in the whole country, with the help of our 600 agents who work daily with us in Senegal. I don't know if there were any questions. Maybe Eva, you wanted to ask some questions? There many questions came through the chat. That's what I was reading at the same time. Maybe tell us a bit more about what you will be doing at the forum and when we will be able to see you at the forum in Dakar. If anybody wants to meet you or see your pitch, where, especially for labeled projects, where can we find you? And what will be the coming actions? What else will you be organizing as part of the labeling? When you are a water company and you are hosting, or the event is taking place in your country, of course, this is going to be a very busy week for us. Of course, SEN'EAU will be there at the forum. We will have our own stand. and we will have our 3 prized projects. I showed you one of them today, and there will be 3 labeled projects. One is in technical management of all the drills in the country. I think there's about 300 devices or facilities which are managed in a centralized way here at the headquarters in Dakar. And another project called Visio, which is a kind of a control tower to manage the water, the drinking water supply. Our teams are therefore able to work in the best possible way. So we will be presenting these projects. You can, and also at our stand, but also during special moments, events such as conferences. We do not have yet the exact planning or agenda for this, but we should have this pretty soon. And this will be also on site and not far from the airport, from Dakar airport. At our headquarters at SEN'EAU, we also have a one-day visit on March 23rd, and people will be invited to subscribe to come and visit all these various projects, especially to come and see the Visio operational center, to come and see our call center that has been completely refurbished, and also find out about our plants and our water supply plant in Dakar, which is a very big plant that is serving the whole city. So this is something to be visited also during the forum, and that will be on March 23rd. People have to register on the website. So all these facilities in the city of Dakar, there is a question from someone in the chat. The person was asking whether you were also working in other regions out of places which are not connected to the main network. Another question also to know is if the water management department is private. And then we will give the floor to Mr. Gaston, who also wanted to raise a question because he also has a project. And then we will end with one last speaker. The water sector is not privatized. It's a public service in any case. But the state can decide or not to delegate part of the service. In this case, the exploitation and the production of water. So the state is absolutely in charge of the whole service, no matter which sector, whether it's rural or urban or others. And stakeholders like us, like SEN'EAU, can offer their services to produce or exploit the water. Thank you very much, Benjamin, for answering this question and for presenting in a few minutes your project, SEN'EAU. You can visit their stand if you are able to go to Dakar next week for this forum, water forum. I know our time is run out. I will give the floor now to Mr. Kayenga, if you are here. If you could just say one word about your own labeled project. You can take 3 minutes and then we will conclude. Yes, my name is Gaston Kayenga. Hello, everyone. Coming from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Which is a project called Access to Drinking Water. We want to develop access to drinking water in the east of the country, which is a very sensitive area. Access to drinking water is mainly for those people living in rural areas, to help the most vulnerable populations. But we also want to make sure that this project could contribute to peace in the region. It's a cooperative project. Thank you for giving me the floor. Thank you very much for presenting your project. If we could have some elements or details, we can share this. It's already there on the website of the forum, on the water forum. I think my colleague has found it and has already shared the link in the chat. So you can look in the chat and click on the link for the this project. Now, I think we're going to be able to conclude now. So just to thank everyone for taking part in this third eMag session. Thank you for staying with us till the end. And I hope we will be able to meet a few of you during the World Water Forum next week. Do not hesitate to write to us if you are there or if you're in Dakar next week, so we can meet, greet and meet. It would be great to be able to meet you face to face. So please let us know if you are there. And I will now give the floor back to Chloe, our moderator for this session, so she can tell us more about our next sessions and our next appointment. Thank you all for being with us in this session. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you to all our speakers. And we will meet on April 7th for our next eMag on sustainable cities, but you will have all the information in the minutes which you will receive next week. And maybe some of you will meet us in Dakar next week. Thank you very much. And please do not hesitate to send us an email or contact us via email if you have any more questions. Thank you and bye-bye. Thanks a lot. Bye.